The Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, has called for punitive actions against lawyers and judges involved in the issuance of conflicting orders in the Kano Emirate legal tussle. While the Federal High Court in Kano, presided over by Justice Amobeda, issued an order for the eviction of Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II from the Kofa Kudu Palace, reinforcing the authority of the 15th Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. The Kano State High Court, under the jurisdiction of Justice Aliyu, issued an injunction to protect Muhammadu Sanusi and other key figures from potential harassment by state authorities. The Nigerian Bar Association has stated that the Federal High Court has brought utter disgrace and shame to the profession.
Well, also remember that following these developments, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, has summoned both judges. They are Justice S.A. Amobeda and Justice Aisha Damu Aliyu, presiding justices of the Federal High Court, Kano, and the State High Court, respectively. This morning, we are joined by lawyer and, of course, we could say our seasoned fellow colleague, Osa Director, is in the house. Good morning to you, and it's good that you are the right person to talk to, because you'll be looking at this topic from the journalist point of view and, of course, from the law. So both of them meeting hand in hand will help us possibly bring out the right points and, of course, the aspects concerning this particular story. But first off, what's your take on the back and forth? Are you in any way, would you say, disapproval of what's going on in Kano State, particularly from the justices and what we've seen?
Of course, even the kindergarten pupil, student lawyer, will be disappointed at the disgraceful acting of the justices of both the State High Court and the Federal High Court. As a matter of fact, this is the zenith of judicial rascality for court of coordinate jurisdiction to be countermanding each other's judgment and issuing what you can call a midnight judgment and hiding under the guise of e-judiciary, you know, to be giving judgment from outside the country, and with such alacrity when there are even more serious issues to be dispensed with in the High Court or in the Federal High Court, and they are lying fallow there for several weeks, several years. But now you just bring a case and you're outside the country and you are pronouncing an order, you know, that should be binding on the citizens. So for me, it is with utter disappointment and shame, you know, to be identified as a lawyer when you see this kind of manifestation and behavior by our so-called judges. It shows that, like you say in law, it's a case of recusal loquitur. The fact is clear that there are disappointment, you know.
Right. So now that we have these two seeming conflicting orders or judgments, rather, we've seen like these two conflicting orders. One to, I mean, we already know the breakdown, but my question would be that how do we then determine what should happen? Should we return to the status quo before this whole legal tussle started? There are those who would say that where there are two equal equities, the first in time prevails. And there are others who would say, you know, for now, let's just revert to what it was before the whole legal tussle. You know, how do you foresee that all of this will play out?
Yeah, it's a bit complex in the sense that with the judges of, the judge of the Federal High Court, and even that of the State High Court, they have literally descended into the arena, as we say, the arena of conflict, you know. And it is obvious that they are pandering to the whims and caprices of those who pays the piper, they taste the tune. You know, the Federal High Court, by virtue of Section 250 of the Federal Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, a judge of the Federal High Court is appointed based on recommendation by the Nigerian Judicial Council, is appointed by the President, subject to confirmation of the Senate. Why, by virtue of Section 271, a state judge, the chief judge of a state, is appointed by the executive governor, of the state, you know, based on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council and ratification by the State House of Assembly. So you can see what is playing out now. It's a case of federal forces against state power.
Right.
You know, that is, the judiciary is dancing to the tune of the executive arm that they feel is controlling or is the appointer in this instance. So why I said that it's going to be difficult is that, I mean, it's a bit complex. It's like you rightly mentioned in equity, first in time, you know. But these are court of coordinated jurisdiction. You also now have to ask yourself, do both parties have jurisdiction over such matters?
I was going to ask you then,
Yeah.
you know, the provision of the law regarding which of the courts has jurisdiction when it comes to chieftaincy matters.
You know, because in the section 251 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, clearly stated the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court, areas that they have a jurisdiction. It does not include chieftaincy affairs and traditional matters. Those ones fall within the purview of the state and local government. However, you find that some of these judges, in a way of being disingenuous, they want to come under the guise of fundamental human rights enforcement, which you can't do at the Federal High Court.
Absolutely.
But like I said, if that is going to be disingenuous or clever by half, because the course of action in this case, principally, fundamentally, is the issue of the Kano State Emirate law, you know, which has to do with chieftaincy matter in Kano State. So that is outside the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court.
And just to piggyback off what you said about how some of them will leverage on fundamental human rights. The Supreme Court has in several cases established the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court, that it cannot mistakenly confer on itself, you know, jurisdiction that it doesn't have for whatever reason. So how do we then checkmate this? What's the role of the judiciary in ensuring that we don't keep seeing repetitions such as this, where, I mean, of course, we know that conversations about jurisdiction, they've happened over the years. Every time we see jurisdiction of courts being challenged in the, you know, in matters that are brought before the courts. But how do we ensure that we can remedy this in a way that doesn't make the judiciary look like a joke? Because those who are not lawyers, standing from the outside is not really a good look. And for every time that we have scenarios like this, the trust that the population have in the judiciary, it's chipping away in gradual portions. I
totally agree with you that the optics is not looking good. It's quite disappointing. That's why I even said that you feel ashamed as a lawyer getting yourself identified with such reckless pronouncement that verges on rascality, if not stupidity. You know, the truth is just that the only way these things can be enforced is absolute discipline. You know, discipline within the judiciary, in the sense that when anybody strays, you know, you make sure there are sanctions and there are consequences. Every action has consequences. But you find out that even in 2020, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kano Muhammad, disciplined about 3 judges, you know, for giving conflicting judgment. But what is the kind of discipline? Oh, they should not be elevated to the next higher court, maybe the appeal court, you know, because of what they did. I mean, that is just like a slap on the wrist, you know. They should be sacked and disgraced, you know, rather than just giving them a slap on the wrist. So what I'm saying is that the National Judicial Council is actually not being firm and decisive in ensuring that we don't have a repetition of this. Because I want to agree with you that even, I don't know how, okay, let me not even say that, but in 1993, I want to say how young you were, but in 1993, you know, there was a judge famous for issuing ex parte order or granting ex parte order, Justice Egbo. You know, that was the judge that was used by the Association of Better Nigeria, led by Unzeribe Toscoto, June 12. I mean, judges like Egbo. You know, that was when ex parte order became famous. That even a man on the street now knows what is ex parte order, you know. Because Nigeria is such a funny thing, that a funny place. At a point in time, a particular lexicon word will just come up, benchmarking, nonsense democracy, you know, things like that. So that was, it was the period of ex parte order, you know.
Okay, all right. I mean, quick one, because we're running out of time. We need to also catch up with what's going on in South Africa. Our correspondent is actually waiting. But let me ask you, I mean, the final question. I'd like you to look at it from the journalistic point of view. With what's going on in Kano, it's actually made Nigerians become wary of what everyone is talking about, the state police.
Yeah.
We've seen what's going on in Kano, and people are starting to imagine. Imagine state police like this. That means it could go either way. Your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah. First, let me just quickly say that I feel extremely bad about what is happening in Kano, because that's my adopted home state. I spent over a decade in Kano. I did my youth service there and fell in love with the place. So I have a lot of my brothers and sisters there, you know. It's really, really frightening to imagine if we have a state police. But I've always been an advocate of state police because I believe in true federalism, you know. But it will only take time for us to graze through all these things. But now, with what is happening now, there would have been close to a civil war in Kano because the Kano governor would have deployed state police while the federal government would deploy the federal police. However, what I'm seeing in support of state police is that the federal police, are they not being manipulated by the executive arm at the federal level? So why can't you also have a state police? I think what will happen is that at the end of the day, if you have state police and you have federal police, their duties
will be clearly defined.
Defined.
I mean, still following up with that state police as quickly as possible, my final question, and hopefully our final question for this conversation. Governor Abba Yusuf has banned public protests and stated that demonstrators should be arrested, of course, because they have allegedly gotten intelligence that, that this whole situation is about to be manipulated with demonstrators being moved to the streets. So talk to us about the legality or otherwise of this. One, is it right to say that he's exercising his position as the chief security officer of the state, but then from the perspective of infringing on the rights, we have the right to peaceful assembly as enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. So how do we then find the thin line between that? Yeah,
and the truth is that he's exercising his powers as the chief security officer of the state. But you know, we've also expressed the lacuna in the Constitution in respect of that. You are the chief security officer, but you don't have the powers to deploy the security men or agencies. He cannot literally control the commissioner of police, except there is a working accord, because the commissioner of police takes order from the inspector general of police, who takes order from the president. So I would think that he's exercising his power. That's good enough for him to say that. And in terms of circumscribing the rights of Nigerians, the law is also clear that under certain circumstances, laws can be made to either restrict your movement, like even during COVID,
curfew,
it was done, So,
okay, all right. Great one, great conversation, and we want to say thank you so much for joining in and helping us to further expatiate on this situation taking place in Kano.